Hey, this is Jonathan Gilliam. You're about to listen to the show, and I just wanted to make sure that you've heard about my best-selling book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. It's the only book out there that teaches you how attackers target you and how you can divide your life up into sectors and look at each individual sector of your life from the attacker's point of view. So then you can turn around and make true defenses, have true awareness, and understand where you could be a victim. It also has 2 workbooks, a threat assessment workbook and a defense assessment workbook. Both are fillable. And also for your children, The Adventures of Team Little Bigs, a parent's book for children. It's all pictures with lessons that they can learn about safety and security, awareness and communication, all embedded in the pictures. And the parents can go to teamlittlebigs.com and download the lesson plans so they can give the book to the child. The child can go through the pictures and the parent can teach them as they go through there. Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. It's 2 workbooks, and The Adventures of Team Little Bigs, a parent's book for children. Go check them out wherever books are sold, and let's start the show.
Get them out of here, throw them out of your protest. Protest peacefully. Why would anyone break into a store in your neighborhood? Places that employ the people in this neighborhood. No reason for it. It has to end. Let New York show the country how this is done.
It was a remarkable moment, but unfortunately there was a lot of looting in the middle of Manhattan. I mean, 5th Avenue, Madison, from 8 p.m. onward, past midnight.
Jonathan Gilliam, and this is the Experts Podcast. The truth has arrived. And man, it has arrived. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, last night I ranted on here for an hour and a half, and ranted until the sun was up. And got a lot of stuff out of my system last night. But the thing is, I don't know about you, but I am getting very, very sick of all the stuff that's going on. That soundbite that you just heard right there, that's Terrence Monahan. He is the NYPD chief. He's like the big super chief. For those of you who don't know how the NYPD works, they got super chiefs who are like generals. And I don't know Monahan. He might be a great guy. I don't know. I haven't heard from anybody. Maybe if somebody knows and they listen to this podcast, I think I might have met him before. But listen, he got down on his knees and in unison with the people that were protesting there, I think by Union Square or somewhere like that, because they want to defuse the situation. I get it. And sometimes, optics are the best thing, But when you say something like he's saying, let the New Yorker show this or that, you got to realize that the chief could be the greatest guy in the world, but the New Yorkers, they hired a communist, not just a socialist, a guy who full-fledgedly supported full-blown communism, which I've explained this before, so it's really socialism. Socialism leads to communism. Communism will never be realized because it's a fantasy, just like socialism is the lie that supposedly leads to fantasy. But the reason I played that clip was because I think it showed perfectly the reality of what's not working. He gets down on his knees and he with the protesters in unison, I don't know, showing that he has solidarity with them, and then goes on that rant where he's screaming and hollering, which I think is unbecoming of a chief myself, and it looks stupid. And again, I don't know if the chief's a good guy. He might be a good guy, but that looked really ridiculous. That looked stupid. And especially in the light of the millions of dollars that have been destroyed, and the fact that tonight, after he said this, one cop was ran over and is in critical condition, and 2 others were beaten up. And they have video of one guy getting smashed by something. Another one of the cop. They got a video of the cop getting ran over. So he gets on his knees and does that, and then he goes on that tirade, and it does nothing. They didn't even set the curfew until 11 o'clock. And not, I mean, screw the fact that it gets dark way earlier than that. They didn't stop it then. Because de Blasio he's a freaking dopehead, socialist. His daughter got arrested yesterday in New York for rioting. His wife has embezzled literally over $1 billion. They can't even find the money that she wasted on yoga for the homeless, which was almost $1 billion. Then he put her in charge now of something to do with COVID and racial stuff that has to do with COVID. I don't know exactly. It was stupid, but he appointed her to that. This is after the woman lost $1 billion. Can't even account for the money. They can't even account for the money that she lost. And he points her to another post, and there's no crime. There's nobody investigates that. That's what New Yorkers hired. I don't feel bad at all. Many of these companies are coming out saying, they stand with the protesters. They don't even understand the reality of what's going on. I spent the whole podcast yesterday laying down the reality of what's actually happening. Many of them are far left. This is one thing that most people don't understand. When Obama was in office, really started way back with George Bush 41. Very crooked. The whole lot of them are crooked. 41, Clinton, Bush 43, Obama. All of them are crooked. And what they do is they take people that are, I think I told this story before, somebody that I know used to live next door to General Colin Powell, who's a deep stater. And he was talking to Colin Powell one day. And this guy used to be in the CIA. And he was talking to Colin Powell. And he said, yeah, you're getting close to retirement now. This is when he was still General Colin Powell. He's like, well, do you have anything, planned? This comes firsthand from somebody that I know that was his neighbor. And Colin Powell told him that, oh man, don't you know how this works? You grease the skids, and then when you get ready to retire, he goes, I already have a book deal lined up, speaking engagements. I'm already set to be on the board of multiple companies. That's the way this works. Whether you're a general or a deputy director or a politician, it's lobbying. They go straight into lobbying, and they just walk in and shake the hands of people that they've done stuff for before when they're on the job. That's why a lot of these decisions don't make any sense to people that are operating, because they're making political decisions so they can get jobs after they get out. And so what you have is like I don't know if he's still the CEO of USAA now, but when Sean Hannity they were going to protest him for something, it was about Keurig or something like that. I can't remember what it was. And USAA said they were going to drop this from sponsoring his radio show, and instantly they lost 10,000 customers. So I guess they got the idea that wasn't a good idea. They got the point. That guy who was the CEO of USA at that time was a former Obama appointed general. So what they do is, a lot of these people that make rank in the military and in law enforcement agencies and intel agencies, they're leftist. As long as they're doing the bidding of the politicians, they will get out and they'll get appointed to CEO positions. They will, and people will think, oh my gosh, you're, tinfoil hat. Okay. I'm a tinfoil hat. I'm going to play something here in a minute from Don Lemon that shows you tinfoil hat. But the ridiculousness of this game that they're playing, when you see how all these companies are saying that they, last night I put it all together, and now they're saying they stand with the protesters, and you have mayors who are, there's the protesters, and there's very few of those people that are rioting. That's all BS. That's all crap. There's very, very few people that come out there for the right reasons. And even though they're coming out there for the right reasons, they're highly misguided in the reality of what's happening. Then you have the rest of these people. It's the game. It's the Hegelian dialect, which I put in my title yesterday. I don't even know if I mentioned actually what the Hegelian dialect is. And that's where you cause a problem and then you offer a solution to the problem that you caused and then handle the outcome. So it's always in your favor. That's how this whole thing works. And these people in these companies that are at the top of these companies, that's why a lot of times you're just like sitting here going, why are they making these decisions? It seems like they're running their company straight in the ground over ideological reasons. And that's why, because they're all ideological leftists. I don't want to make this a long podcast tonight because quite frankly, I got to take a day to breathe because I'm at the point now in my mind where I'm so frustrated with what's happening in this country. And the fact that I know for a fact, I see all these operators that I know that used to be SEALs or people that are patriots, and they're all talking a big game. They're all talking a big game. Good people that I know are good people that are patriots, have served this country. And they say, things like, it's not the military you got to worry about. And the president calling them out. It's the patriots. And, this is bullshit. Because nobody's going to risk their life and they're not going to risk their jobs and their insurance and potentially going to jail. Nobody wants to end up where that knucklehead is that sat on George Floyd and killed him. And they're not going to do it. And it's like watching a car crash in slow motion. You're like, oh, you know what it feels like? You ever watch those stupid videos? I hate those videos that people put on social media of somebody jumping from a roof into a pool, and you know it's coming. You know they're not going to make it to the pool, and sure enough, they slam into the ground. It's hard to watch. I never liked those videos because I've been injured really bad before, and so watching those it's just too cringeworthy. It's kind of like a horror movie. I don't know why people go see those things, but you know it's coming. And there's nothing anybody can do about it because the person's an idiot. That is what it feels like in this country. I know there's people that listen to this saying, no, that ain't going to happen. Show me. You're not even organized. They are literally burning cities down. Literally. Not figuratively, literally. The scum of the inner city is coming out, the worst of the worst in the inner city, in carloads to loot. Last night they just tore through Chanel and stole everything, probably millions of dollars worth of stuff, and all the other high-end stores in Soho. It doesn't bother me at all. They're the ones who voted for that knucklehead. They're the store owners that say they stand with the protesters. So they get what they get. They get what they allowed, not what they asked for. I'm sure they didn't ask for it, but that they're a part of that. It's like the dog eating its own ass. And I'm to a point where it's like when I want to just flip through social media because I don't want to see that guy hit the edge of the pool. It doesn't bring me any satisfaction. It's cringeworthy. I just want to turn the page and just go find my little piece of whatever property somewhere in the middle of nowhere and just be done with it and say, I don't want to have anything to do with anything anymore. I have no hope in this country. I hate to say that, but it's not the shit stirs and the scum. They're always going to be there. The leftists, they've been around for thousands of years. You never give those people power because when you do, they will ruin the freedom that you have, and they will ruin it because the rest of the free citizenry is just preoccupied. Absolutely preoccupied. I mean, there are people that are fully capable of getting together and stopping it. Look, you think it's that hard? Look how many people it took to literally shut down several cities until they had to call in the National Guard. And it's still going on. It's not like they were scared by the National Guard. Hell, I don't even know if the National Guard has the ability to do anything. Because I know for a fact, just like the training in law enforcement, most of the National Guard is just crap. The wars that were going on were the best thing ever happened for training in the National Guard. But the majority of them, I mean, I remember being an air marshal. We'd walk through the airport. They wouldn't even have a magazine in their gun. Or if they did, it wasn't even loaded. That's the ridiculous mindset. Some of the reporters on TV are talking about, some of the, they call them clips, but some of the National Guard have magazines and some don't. So you're walking around with a metal bat, and that's who's going to stop this. But don't you all see that it doesn't take this massive commitment, and that when you do it together, that it's less likely that you're going to be affected in the long run in your life, and more likely to be successful in securing freedom? Don't you all see that? It's hard to watch this. Having served and done the things that I've done, and the blood that I have shed, the sweat and the tears, and leaving home and deploying, leaving my dogs, knowing that I might not come home, even when I was here in New York as an FBI agent. I mean, do you all not realize that? That people have bled and died for your freedom? And you're just going to sit there and watch the groups of people that act worse than animals loot your cities, destroy things, and stand hand in hand with people that are going to go on television and spread absolutely fake narratives. Absolutely fake. And listen to Don Lemon. I know everybody's like, oh gosh, you rant like that, getting down on the conservatives. Now you're going to play Don Lemon. This is who has the stage. Do you realize that the other night when the leftists were attacking CNN, they could have shut down CNN? Yeah, there's a police precinct there in Atlanta, but there's not one up here in New York. And if these people had any idea what they're doing, they could shut down CNN. And this is one of the main instigators of the left. Listen to what Don Lemon said. This is more tinfoil hat than InfoWars could ever hope to be.
This was a made-for-television moment. And what I wanted to say after that, which I believe to be true, and I know to be true now, is that earlier on that phone call that we heard that Jim Acosta played for us earlier, when the president said, you are being weak, you have to show strength, that the Minneapolis Police Department was on fire. I've never seen anything like this before. I said he sounded weak and scared. Those were the orders from the commander-in-chief for this very moment that just happened in front of our eyes. Why were we pretending otherwise? Open your eyes, America. Open your eyes. We are teetering on a dictatorship. This is chaos. Has the president, I'm listening, is the president declaring war on Americans?
Can you believe that? That's a bullshit statement. Sorry, I keep saying bullshit tonight, but that is a bullshit statement by a leftist that is crying. He's putting out the cry or the call to all the other leftists to try and block the president from doing something that he's potentially allowed to do for the protection of the country, not because he's a dictator. It's just absolutely ridiculous that this is allowed to be aired on television and called news. It is not news. But you have to understand that this narrative is being spread, and especially young people believe it like you just cannot, you have no clue how much they believe it. And these young people that want to be treated like children, but they want you to listen to them and everything that they have to say. You go up to these 19-year-olds who are spouting off stuff and telling you to go F yourself and stuff like that, and you tell them to shut up and call them on their bullcrap, and they're going to say, "Why you're talking to a child? You're talking to a teenager like that?" That's the way they are. Totally, they've been raised. Listen, the parenting in this country, it's horrific. My mom is an amazing woman. She raised 4 kids by herself with nothing. And I've always used her as my inspiration. What is it? What are the parents doing now? What are they raising? They're not raising anything. They're just allowing TV and their leftist teachers to indoctrinate these kids into like whatever they are, little robots. And then those robots actually assisting the parents to go after conservative teachers. It's sick. No heart. They have no heart. They have no empathy for people. They're disgusting, no ethics, no morals, and it comes directly from the parenting. And so when I, listen to that soundbite that he's saying that we're on the edge of a dictatorship. When Trump had a press conference today, he talked about the 1807, the Insurrection Act, to help protect the country, which has been done before. And the president, they were giving him so much flack today because they pushed they call them protesters, but you see, as soon as you put a little pressure on them, they go freaking nuts, like rabid little dogs, little bitty wiener dogs. And he pushed him back so he and his staff could walk up and stand next to the church that was put on fire and hold up his Bible. It's Episcopalian church. And one of the female bishops from the church called CNN and went on a tirade about how she could not believe that he used the church as a photo op. It was a sign that he stood with the church and that he stood with America. God help him. And it all goes back to what I started on here, is that where are the conservatives in this country? You're not even organized enough to go stand against these leftist weirdos. We're doomed. I'm telling you right now, we're doomed. I want to be proven wrong. I want to be proven wrong. You have to wait for the military. Listen, we're the United States of America. We're the most powerful free citizenry ever in the history of mankind. And you're going to stand and let thugs and leftists subvert this entire country, subvert the powers that be in law enforcement, subvert the powers that be in the military, in government, in the mayor's offices, in the governor's offices. You've allowed it. And I don't see any hope. And quite often, people come back at me on social media because they're like, "Why are you, coming down on us?" And because you don't do anything. Well, not me. I'm the one I stand up. Okay, maybe you're that one person, but where's the other 1,000? 62 million people voted for Donald Trump in 2016. Where are you? You all came out to vote and you felt so good about yourself, patted yourself on the back. Then you didn't come out and vote and completely lost Congress. And everything that's happened since then to the president and in this country has been in direct correlation to that loss of the House. Do you realize where this country would be if the same people that got up and voted for President Trump had gone out and voted? Listen, I told people this before. I don't care if it's the most worthless sack of crap. If they're conservative or even if they're just part of the Republican Party, which I think the Republican Party is a criminal organization, but it's the difference between overall the Republican Party versus the Democrat Party is that the Democrat Party is full-on socialists that want to overthrow the government. Part of the Republican Party is as well. But you have a much better chance of sustaining freedom if you vote Republican, just pure. And I don't believe in the two-party system, but we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice because we've given the power over to them. But it's your fault. It's America's fault. It's the conservatives, the constitutionalists in this country. It's your fault. You didn't get up and go elect conservatives, Republicans into Congress, and we lost Congress. We lost the House of Representatives. And it's not like the Senate's worth anything. So we lost it. And there's been almost 4 years of non-stop ridiculousness because of the American people. You can blame the DNC. You can blame Chuck Schumer. You can blame Nancy Pelosi. You can blame Schiff. But the fact is, the American people did not go vote. And we lost the House. And everything that's happened now since then is a result of that. So you can blame the DNC, but it's not the DNC's fault that they got elected. It's our fault. Same thing with these mayors. The amount of people that voted for President Trump, I can guarantee if we looked at who's been elected mayor and who's been elected governors of these states, the majority of people that voted for the president did not get up and go vote for the conservatives in those locations. Because you just think it's going to be taken care of. You take your freedom for granted. And quite frankly, I'm over it. I don't know if there's any chance of this ever coming around. I hope I'm wrong. God bless this country. I hope I'm wrong. But you're so wrapped up in your, whether or not we should be taking a virus or Bill Gates or Fauci. Fauci has nothing to do with what's been happening over the past 7 days. Nothing. If you look at how this transpired with that idiot cop sitting on George Floyd's head until he's dead, and these people taking advantage of that, and they're getting bigger and bigger. Listen, it's only been in a half dozen states. It's not like it's been everywhere. And it may shut down in these big states, but that doesn't mean it's not going to start up somewhere else. We're in bad shape here. And I call out to the patriots in this country to start having a conversation. And I'm not just talking about on social media or direct messages. I'm talking about getting your ass out of the house and going and sitting and having a conversation and policing your group. Making sure that people that are there are people that you know and not people who are going to go around telling the media or people that are going to go around, telling law enforcement that you're up to something. I'm not saying go plan an attack on anybody. But I am saying that it's time for you to start talking. It is time for you to start realizing that if you wait to organize, you're not going to be able to organize. And if you don't organize, you're not going to be able to have a plan on how to act when your country starts to fall. And right now, you do not have that. And I know there's people who are going to say, no, we meet every week. Oh, good for you. What do you got, 25, 50? You're not going to save the country. It's not like it was back in 1700s when a handful of people could make a difference. And see, that's the other problem with law enforcement, is that you've allowed yourself to believe that everybody is bad. And so if there's a group of people who realize what's happening and they start organizing and law enforcement finds out, and they'll start looking at them as though they're criminals. There's nothing criminal at all about people getting together, because there's a good possibility our country will be completely overthrown by leftists. But law enforcement puts everybody in that category. You can't trust it. And I'm not talking about cops in general, and specifically, I was one. But I know that the same mentality that's keeping people from getting off their couch and preparing is the same mentality that's going to make a cop go and break it all up because they don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to lose their job. They don't want to lose their insurance. Or they think there's nothing wrong here. It's just protests, just riots. No, it's not. Look, as I was talking about yesterday, at the reality of what keeps getting preached every day on television, that institutional racism is a thing. And it's a thing because whites are racist against blacks. This is the truth in all of that. Racism in this country, as we know it now, by and large, there's always going to be people who are just racist and, you know, believe crazy, weird things and are very nasty people. There's no doubt about that. Look at how the liberals treat conservatives. Look at how the young people in this country treat adults. Look at how the young liberals treat conservatives. Like we're animals, right? So it exists, and they're nasty, and they have no care in the world. Most of them need a severe punch right in the throat. But when you look at systemic racism, the reality is the inner city, and I explained this, I believe, in some part yesterday, the inner city is like a prison, and people are institutionalized in there. It's not racism that's institutionalized in white people or in people in power in the country. The inner city, which has, for some reason, has just been forced to continue. I mean, it's a very strange thing. I've been all over this country. I had this incredible conversation. I've got to find his name. I had a conversation with a guy who was black at 3 a.m. When I was gassing up my RV and getting the propane refilled down in Florida. Great guy. He's originally from New York, raised 3 or 4 incredibly successful children. And we had this incredible conversation. And he was telling me that, and we both agreed, why is it everywhere you go in the nation, in the inner city, it's predominantly black? And that's not a racial statement. That's a fact. And if I look at anything else in this country that is that way, it is done for a reason. You look at roads, they're all the same way in every state that you go to. Road signs are the same way. That's because the government made those things that way because cars are this wide and roads have to be this wide, or cars are made that wide because roads are that wide, and so on and so forth. Because you need to have road signs so there's not accidents. It is not a coincidence that you go to every state and you look at the inner city and it's predominantly black. It's because of what is preached and taught in those locations. It's what has been preached and taught to those cultures and those societies over years and years and years through lies and indoctrination of the narrative that you're hopeless and that you're absolutely helpless and that you're young and you're going to be in a gang, or there's going to be drugs there, or it's okay to have 5 children out of wedlock. It's just the stuff that's institutionalized in those societies, and people feel like they can't get out. And as I explained last night, it's a lie. You can be whatever you want. The color of your skin only determines how much sun is going to reflect off of you. That's it. I remember hearing about in SEAL training, they did a study, and honest to goodness, I know some of my black friends would laugh about this, but honest to goodness, they did a study to find out why black guys sank more, or in the water, and it's because they have more testosterone on average than Caucasian or anybody else. Black people males have more testosterone, by like 10%, and their bone structure is much more dense. So in water, they don't float. Higher testosterone, you're going to be leaner and you're going to have denser bones. So you're going to sink. Whereas other people have more fat in their body. That's it. That's all that it means. It doesn't mean you're dumber. It doesn't mean you're smarter. It doesn't mean you're lazy or more energetic. It doesn't mean you're a good person or bad person. It just means the color of your skin's darker because of nature. It says nothing about the character of who you are. And if I go through and look systematically around the country, and I look at the inner city, and I see that people are predominantly black, and I know that skin color has nothing to do with the quality of person that you are, has nothing to do with what you're capable of, then I have to ask the question, why is that? And when I look at what is preached in schools, when I look at what's preached through the government and through the Democrat Party, and I see what quote unquote community activists say, they all say the same thing. You are downtrodden. You are oppressed. You can't just be something. I mean, listen to what they were saying last night on CNN, that basically if you're black, you cannot change things. I mean, that's just not true. It's absolutely not true. And so when I look at the commonality amongst all these cities in the inner city, what I see is people who've been hoodwinked into believing that the color of your skin actually matters so much that they themselves point out the color of their skin. And as I said on Newsmax once in an argument with a Black Lives Matter, or a debate, Black Lives Matter female, I told her, I don't look at you as a black woman. I look at you as an American. I don't see the color of your skin. It means nothing to me. You're loud and obnoxious. It has nothing to do with your skin. What you believe is a leftist ideology has nothing to do with your skin. But people in this country have been hoodwinked, and it doesn't. White people even believe it. And having grown up poor, I know for a fact that it has nothing to do in reality with the color of your skin, or whether you're male or female or nothing. It's whether or not you want to get up and do something with your life. So this whole narrative that these protests are about the injustice of black men. Listen, what you're seeing out there in these riots and the things that people are doing, that is the exact behavior that trains police officers. Yes, they go through academy. They get on the street training with a training officer, but the society is what really trains them, in which they work. And that's what I was explaining last night. When you couple that mindset that cops have gotten over the years, where they treat everybody, they treat all of us, as I talked about last night as well, they treat all of us with this disdain. And not all cops, listen, I know cops listen to this and everybody will say, no, that's not true. And it's not true about all cops, but systematically it is ingrained in them that you are not a part of society. And I remember being in the FBI, and when somebody would make it into SWAT, they would turn into a little Jim Gagliano. They would just become the biggest dicks in the world. And they wouldn't talk to people, and they would walk, because they literally thought at that point that, and as though it happens all the time. Okay, it doesn't happen all the time. That if they have to arrest an FBI agent, they're going to be the ones doing it, or they're the ones who have to arrest cops, or whatever they believe. I don't know exactly what they believe, but it was ridiculous. You would see a guy one day, he gets accepted to SWAT. The next day he walks through the hall, he doesn't talk to anybody. And they're like the fraternity in Animal House where all the idiots lived. Not the Jim Belushi guys, but the snobby dudes who were total freaking fruitcakes. And that's it. That is a bad mindset for law enforcement. But when you realize that the riffraff that you're seeing out there is exactly what they deal with on a daily basis, now you see why they are hyper aggressive the way they are. So even though I'm pointing out what's wrong, I'm not blaming them for it. It's terrible training, terrible executives working in an environment where people don't respect you and they literally try to fight you at any given moment and kill you. And you're engaged with criminals daily who don't even care about this nation or anything else. They don't give two craps that George Floyd was killed. So they get that mindset. The people in the inner city have their mindset that they're helpless and they're oppressed and that they're downtrodden. And it creates this cyclical ridiculousness that the left can continuously use instead of going in and saying, listen, it's an impoverished area, but we are going to invest money in this and clean it up. And we're going to have the cops in here, and we expect you to treat them with respect, and we expect the cops to treat you with respect. If you see drug dealing, you're going to go to jail. You pull a gun out, you're going to get shot. And so on and so forth. And if there's a bad cop, which we're going to train our cops well, and if there's a bad cop, we're going to get rid of him. We're going to fire him. Get rid of them. We're not going to hire people based on race or gender or sexuality or anything. We're going to hire people that are qualified for the job. And what we expect from you is that you keep your place clean. You pay your taxes. You give respect. If that was to occur, there would be no inner city issue. And all of a sudden what you would see is those places that are predominantly black and it's violent, that would start to change. And the perception that people have of each other would start to change. Black people would start to realize that white people don't hate them. White people would start to realize that not every black guy out there is going to kill them. And they would start to realize that the color of somebody's skin, it doesn't determine anything except for some nature characteristics about light and testosterone and things like that. But that narrative that the liberals just keep you under, and the conservatives in this world don't do anything to stop. It just keeps going. And it's actually gotten to a point now where it's so ridiculous that many people that come out and protest or do, when George Floyd got killed, it's a crime. That guy should go to jail. I think he should potentially get the death penalty for what he did. But what happened to George Floyd is not a occurrence that happens on a daily basis. There's something like 8 million contacts with law enforcement on a daily basis in the United States. There's over 1 million cops in the United States. If that was happening all the time, people would be dying left and right. If cops were constantly beating up innocent black people or killing innocent young black men, they would be dying all the time. But it doesn't happen like that. Most people that are killed, white or black, and there's more white people that are killed by cops every year than black, those people are killed because they're involved in the commitment of a crime, and quite often it's a violent felony, or they try to fight the cops. Never works out. Never works out. That's the reality of racism in this country. And it has nothing to do with what's happening now. It's just more of the same old lie. And the only way it's going to stop is just like those people last night that got out and stood up at Target and wouldn't allow people to come over that way. There were white people and black people. I saw a couple that looked like Latino guys there, and they were drinking and having a good time. And the reporter freaking freaked out. I don't know why. They were having a good time. But that's what's going to have to happen. You don't necessarily have to pick up a gun and go, full civil war. If you show up 1,000, 10,000, 1 million strong, you could take this country back by Friday. But I don't have hope. I don't have hope that it's going to happen. People can spin stuff, and this is the other reason why I'm just about checked out. They can spin anything you say, put it on social media. They can make up lies. They can take for instance, I use UDoodle. Love it. It's a great app. But I could take a picture of you, make a fake tweet as long as I have the same font, and send it to your job. Your job, and it could be the most vile thing in the world. How's your job going to know if it's different? Or will they even take the time to find out? I don't know if we have hope in this country. I hope I'm wrong. What do you think? Let me know. Gilliam _seal on Twitter. You can email me at jonathantgilliam.com. Jonathan at jonathantgilliam.com. Or you can go on Facebook, Twitter, if you're so inclined, go on YouTube, Jonathan T. Gilliam. Excuse me. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Jonathan T. Gilliam. But again, Twitter is Gilliam _seal. So I don't know. You let me know what you think. I hope that you understand my frustration. And I feel I would imagine that you do. I would imagine you do. I want to leave you with this, though. I really want you to consider this. Are you willing If you had 1,000 people with you, or 200, are you willing to put your life on the line? Like, let's say that you go out and let's say shit hits the fan. Are you willing to put your life on the line? Because what happens if you live to be 80 years old and it gets worse and worse in this country? Because trust me, folks, if the socialists get in charge in this country, which they're very close, if they get in charge, what you're seeing with riots and protests and things like that, that's not going to get any better. That is the whole reason for socialism to exist, to cause the chaos so that communism can come in. They want to stir it up so they can pull the cream off and give the country to them. That's what their idea is. Would you be willing to risk your life together with people if you thought it was possible to stand up against the leftists? Would you be willing? I'm Jonathan Gilliam. This is The Experts. The truth has arrived. Peace, and we're out of here.